Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to Elaborations with Skellington Grin. My name is Ava, and I am your gothic witch big sis on this beautifully weird and winding journey that we call life. Here on EWSG, we explore the crossroads where experience meets spirituality, science kisses the esoteric, and no topic is ever too mystical or too mundane. But before we dive in, I would like to give all of you a quick heads up. I'm trying something a little different today that I might actually move forward with. Normally, episodes drop at 3:33 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I've been doing my best to stay consistent with that. But this one is arriving at 5:55 p.m. Why? I'll tell you. It's a little bit of intentionality, a little bit of divine timing, and a little bit of the humanness of recording this later than expected. Nevertheless, if you're tuning in, whether it's from the States, maybe this becomes your new favorite early evening wind down. And for my international friends, maybe this is your morning magic or your afternoon reset. Either way, I hope it lands when and where you need it most, no matter where I'm finding you in the world. Today, we're getting a little bit cozy. And today's episode is going to be less of a lecture or a scientific dissertation and more of a living room chat. I invite you to grab your favorite drinks and snacks, as I always do. I invite you to get into your favorite cozy outfit or even grab your favorite blanket. And I also might even invite you to use your hands a little bit and maybe bring out a journal or bring out a sketchbook or even cook something delicious for dinner. Because today we're talking about creativity. Not as performance, not as perfectionism, but as a means of channeling our energy into something beautiful. Whether you're writing blog posts, painting abstract galaxies and building worlds, making beats in your bedroom, or podcasting like me, creativity isn't just the expression of your personality. It's transmission, it's magic, and for some, it's prayer with your hands moving. In my own life, creativity has become one of the most intimate ways that I connect with something greater than myself. Call it source, spirit, the universe, higher self, or God. Whatever you name it, the act of creating feels like tapping into a frequency that lives both within and beyond me. So, without further ado, let's dive right into today's episode. Let's break this down into something a little bit more digestible, because I noticed that I did use the word channeling, and I know you noticed it too. The word channeling often gets lumped in with the mystical or with psychic practices, which, yes, absolutely. Channeling is also something that I would say that I do when I engage in reading tarot for myself or clients. But at its core, channeling is simply allowing energy to move through you. In that sense, you become a vessel or a conduit for the energy that is universal, but needs this tangibility to it. Let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself getting lost in a flow state? Hours have passed and you hardly notice until you're done. You may reread what you wrote or listen back to what you made, and you think, wow, that was amazing. Where did that come from? Did that really come from me? You may even sit with something months later after you've created it and just go, wow, that was fantastic. I hope I continue making stuff like that as I go forward. That, my friends, is channeling. The energy moved through you and became something tangible. And here's the kicker. You don't have to believe in anything specifically religious or spiritual or even scientific to access this, no matter what you're inclined to believe, even if it's something in between. That flow state and that connection is as universal as everything else. Now let's talk about the world in which we are creating things today. Creativity in the 2020s is borderless. We are no longer simply confined to studios, classrooms, or even our hometowns, even if we decide to stay there. We can record podcasts in our bedrooms. We can edit videos on our phones. We can write love letters and poems and articles and share them with the world on platforms such as Medium, Vocal Media, Substack, or even WordPress. One post, one video, or one song can ripple out to thousands and maybe even millions of people at the touch of a button. And this accessibility is so powerful, but it can also make creativity feel very overwhelming. When everyone's creating and cross-promoting on several platforms such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's easy to fall into this level of comparison. Am I good enough? Is anyone listening to me? Do I have anything worth saying? Or am I oversaturating a niche market that is already oversaturated with abundant knowledge? And that's where I invite you to return to the reason why you are creating, your personal reasons, and also the following: that you're creating not to impress, you're creating to express. You're creating because something inside you refuses to stay silent. And that is the most sacred reason for getting your creative energy out there. Allow me to bring this back to my own little creative altar for a moment. As a podcast host and a multifaceted creator, my mic, my iPad, my laptop, all of the things that I use to create anything that I'm doing is a portal. Even my phone is a portal. I use my tools to weave my ideas, to share my stories, to hold space. Every episode and every tarot reading on Instagram is a ritual, not in this rigid ceremonial way, but in a this matters way. This matters to me, this matters to others that I connect with. And in everything that I do, I move with and speak with intention, knowing that my voice might be the comfort that someone needs today, or my tarot readings might be the mirrors or gentle nudges for people to reconnect with and reevaluate themselves. And when I write, whether it's articles, poetry, or brain dumps, or even the scripts for my podcast, because yes, I do use scripts. Some of my scripts are just bullet points, and some of them are full-fledged scripts that allow me to stay within that flow while I am speaking to all of you, and to make sure that I am hitting the points that I want to talk about with effortless ease. It's a release. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's rhythmic, but it's always honest. And platforms like Vocal Media and Medium have also given me the space to explore topics that live in the liminal, the sweet spot between logic and intuition. And it's the same thing with recording here and uploading this podcast to Spotify and Apple and other places that I distribute. And for those of you who are listening on YouTube, it's the same thing. And lately, I have been slowly finding my way back to writing a little bit more regularly. And let me tell you, the process isn't always glamorous, especially because most of my energy is going back into doing tarot readings on Instagram again to be able to reach more of a broader audience, and also doing this podcast. But everything that I do is real. Everything that I do is intentional. Everything that I do is also innately human. And the energy is going to weave its way through me however it's going to at any given moment. But that's the energy that I want to bring into everything that I create. Not perfection, but intentionality, consistency, and presence. And one of the greatest gifts of creativity, especially in today's digital world, is connection. Every time that you are creating from a genuine place, you are building a bridge between yourself and others. You're also building bridges between your experiences and someone else's healing. And you're creating a close and a gap between isolation and belonging. That is why, if you've noticed, I call all of you my friends. Because to me, you're not just listeners or followers. Even if we never get to know each other in person, you're still people that I am sharing space with. Whether you're cooking dinner, driving, journaling, or laying on your floor staring at the ceiling as you're listening to these episodes. No judgment, because sometimes I like to stare at the ceiling while I am on my yoga mat, just in Shavasana. But in any case, you are here. I am here. And through this medium and other mediums, we meet. So, what does all of this mean? It means that your creative urges are sacred. When you paint, when you write, when you record or dance or design something, you are channeling energy into the world in a way that only you can. Whether or not you monetize it, whether or not you master it, whether or not it makes sense, you listen and you let it move through you. So whether it is 5:55 p.m., 3:33 p.m., or anywhere in between, I hope you make a little space this week to create just for you. Not for likes, not for clout, but for connection, clarity, and a little bit of channeling. And as always, thank you for sitting with me today. And if this episode resonated with you or you find yourself thinking about creativity differently now, I would love to hear from you. You can always find me on social media at the link posted in the description box, which is the link to my link tree. There you will find the link to my Instagram page, as well as so many other things connected to Skellington Grin. And if you feel called to share this episode with a fellow creative soul, I deeply appreciate it. And I would love to see how this episode resonated with you. Feel free to even tag me on Instagram if you want to go ahead and share this episode in your stories. Until next time, stay soft, stay sacred, and keep creating. This has been another enlightening episode of Elaborations with Skellington Grin, and this is your Gothic Witch Big Sis, Ava, signing off and saying I will see you next time. Bye!